Chosen one, pause for a moment and listen carefully. This message is not random, and it is not here by accident. You did not simply click on this video out of curiosity. Something deeper pulled you here. Heaven allowed this moment because your spirit was ready to hear what your mind may still be catching up to. There are seasons when God speaks loudly through events, and there are seasons when He speaks softly through warnings. Right now, you are in a warning season, not because danger is guaranteed, but because protection is available if you listen. 2026 is not an ordinary year. It is a transition year, a separating year, a year where masks fall and intentions are revealed. Many people will feel exposed without understanding why. Pressure will increase, not just externally, but internally. Old cycles will attempt to repeat themselves, and familiar distractions will try to pull you back into comfort. For chosen ones, this year will feel different, heavier, more intense. You may already sense it in your spirit, a subtle urgency, a quiet awareness that timing matters more than it ever has before. Heaven is speaking clearly about silence. Not silence born from fear, but silence rooted in wisdom. There is a difference. Fearful silence hides out of insecurity, but wise silence protects what is still developing. In 2026, God is asking His chosen ones to move with discernment. Not everyone around you is meant to walk with you into your next season. Some people are only assigned to your past, and carrying them forward will slow you down. This is why access must be limited. You may have noticed that lately people are asking more questions than usual. They want to know what you're doing, where you're going, what you're planning next. On the surface, it may look like interest or concern, but spiritually, not all curiosity is harmless. Some people ask questions so they can compare. Some ask so they can compete. Others ask because they sense change in you and want to locate themselves in your future. Heaven says you are not required to answer every question. Discernment is knowing when to speak and when to remain quiet. This year will test your ability to trust God without external validation. In previous seasons, you may have been encouraged to share, to explain, to prove yourself. But 2026 will reward restraint. God does His most precise work in hidden places. Think about how seeds grow. They are not celebrated when planted. They are covered, pressed into the dark and left alone. Exposure too early kills growth. The same principle applies to what God is building in you right now. There will be moments when staying silent feels uncomfortable. You may feel misunderstood. You may feel overlooked. But understand this, being hidden by God is not rejection, it is preparation. Heaven often removes visibility before increase. When God is about to elevate someone, He first reduces their need for applause. If you can obey Him in private, He can trust you in public. Chosen one, this is also a year where spiritual interference will be subtle. It will not always come through obvious attacks. Sometimes it will come through conversation, through opinions, through well-meaning advice that carries no assignment. When you share too much, you give people permission to speak into things they were never meant to influence. In 2026, protecting your peace will require filtering voices more carefully than ever before. God is refining your sensitivity. You may already feel less interested in explaining yourself, less drawn to arguing, less willing to overshare. This is not you becoming distant, this is you becoming aligned. Maturity brings simplicity. You no longer need to convince others of what God has already confirmed within you. When heaven has approved something, human approval becomes unnecessary. This year, timing will be everything. A move made too early can delay what was meant to accelerate. A word spoken too soon can weaken what was meant to strengthen. This is why heaven is warning you now, not to isolate you, but to preserve you. Silence in this season is not absence, it is strategy. You are being positioned for something that requires stability, and stability is built in stillness. God is teaching you to be comfortable not being fully seen, fully understood, or fully celebrated yet. What is coming does not need defending, it needs time. And if you allow time to do its work, the outcome will speak for itself. So, chosen one, as you move forward into 2026, remember this access is sacred. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to what God is doing in you. Guard your heart, your words, and your energy. Heaven is watching how you steward silence. And those who learn to move quietly with God will experience breakthroughs that noise could never produce. Chosen one, as you move deeper into this season, heaven wants you to understand something very clearly. Not everything God reveals to you is meant to be revealed through you. There is a difference between receiving insight and broadcasting it. In 2026, one of the greatest tests you will face is knowing what to keep private, especially when it comes to your next move and your spiritual depth. This is not a season for announcements. This is a season for alignment. The first thing heaven is warning you to guard carefully is your next move. Your plans, your ideas, the direction God is leading you toward. These are fragile in their early stages. Even when a vision is strong, the process is delicate. When you speak too soon, you expose what is still forming. Words carry energy, and not all energy around you is supportive. Some people don't need to actively oppose you to slow you down. Their doubt alone can create resistance. There are people in your life who are comfortable with who you used to be, but uneasy with who you are becoming. When you tell them your next step, it challenges their perception of you. That discomfort often turns into discouragement, disguised as concern. They may say things like, "Are you sure?" or "That sounds risky," or "Maybe you should wait." What they don't realize is that their words can plant hesitation where God planted certainty. In 2026, hesitation is costly. This year requires confidence rooted in obedience, not consensus. God rarely explains the full plan to everyone at once. In Scripture and in life, He reveals direction step by step. When you try to get validation from people who were never meant to see the full picture, you end up carrying confusion that doesn't belong to you. Heaven is saying this clearly: protect the instructions you receive. What God whispers to you in private is not meant to be debated in public. Along with guarding your plans, you must also guard your spiritual depth. But the growth you've experienced, the awareness you now carry, the discernment you've developed, this is sacred. Not everyone has the capacity to understand it, and some people will feel threatened by it even if they can't explain why. Spiritual maturity often creates distance, not because you are better, but because you are different. In 2026, spiritual jealousy will not always look obvious. It won't always come as direct confrontation. Sometimes it will come as subtle dismissal. People may minimize your experiences, question your convictions, or mock what you take seriously. This is why heaven is telling you to be selective. Your spiritual journey is not a debate. It is not something you owe to anyone else for approval. You may feel an urge to explain yourself, especially when you are misunderstood. But understand this: explanation is often an attempt to control how others perceive you. God is teaching you to release that need. Those who are aligned will recognize your growth without words. Those who are not aligned will never understand, no matter how clearly you explain. There is also a deeper reason for this warning. In 2026, information will move fast, but wisdom will be rare. Oversharing will become common, but discernment will become valuable. The more spiritually aware you become, the more important it is to move quietly. Light attracts attention, and not all attention is safe. Heaven is not asking you to hide who you are, but to protect what is precious. This season is about strengthening your inner foundation. God is building consistency, discipline, and trust within you. These qualities develop best away from noise. When everything is shared, nothing is protected. But when you learn to keep certain things between you and God, your strength multiplies. Chosen one. This is not a punishment, it is preparation. You are being trained to carry more, and carrying more requires maturity. In 2026, the chosen ones who advance will not be the loudest, but the wisest. They will not be the most visible, but the most grounded. And they will understand that silence, when guided by God, is not loss, it is leverage. Chosen one, the final area heaven is calling you to protect in 2026 is the most personal and the most vulnerable: your healing process. This is the part of your journey that few people truly understand, and even fewer are qualified to speak into. You have survived things that changed you. You have endured seasons that reshaped how you trust, how you love, and how you see the world. God did not bring you this far for you to reopen wounds that were meant to close. In this next season, healing must be guarded, not displayed. There is a difference between testimony and exposure. A testimony is shared when God releases it. Exposure happens when pain is shared too early or with the wrong people. In 2026, heaven is warning you that not everyone who asks about your past is safe to tell. Some people only want to know your story so they can define you by it. Others are curious, not compassionate. And some are uncomfortable with your growth, so they search for reminders of who you used to be. You may notice people bringing up old versions of you, old mistakes or old struggles, even though you have clearly moved on. This is not accidental. When God elevates someone, resistance often tries to pull them backward. The enemy doesn't always attack your future directly. Sometimes it tries to reopen your past. That is why boundaries are not optional in 2026. They are necessary. God healed you so you could live free, not so you could relive your trauma for the comfort or entertainment of others. You are not required to explain every scar. You are not obligated to satisfy curiosity. Silence does not mean you are hiding something wrong. It means you are honoring something sacred. Your peace is valuable, and in this season, it must be protected intentionally. In 2026, false concern will become more common. People will ask questions that sound caring but leave you feeling drained afterward. Pay attention to that. True support leaves you strengthened, not exposed. Haven is sharpening your discernment so you can feel the difference between genuine care and hidden motives. Trust that inner signal. God placed it there for a reason. You may feel pressure to be open because openness is often praised. But wisdom knows when to speak and when to remain silent. Healing does not require an audience. Growth does not need approval. Some of the strongest transformations happen quietly, without announcements or explanations. God works deeply in private before he moves powerfully in public. This season is also about releasing the need to be understood. Some people will never fully grasp what you went through or how far you've come. And that's okay. Understanding is not required for alignment. When God restores you, he does not ask the permission of those who misunderstood you during your broken season. He simply moves you forward. Chosen one, remember this: what God healed, he also protects. But protection requires cooperation. When you overshare, you reopen doors that God already closed. When you revisit old pain unnecessarily, you give it space it no longer deserves. In 2026, your assignment is not to explain your healing, it is to live in it. You are entering a season where your peace will attract more attention than your pain ever did. Some people will be inspired by your calm, others will feel unsettled by it. Let that be their responsibility, not yours. Your job is to remain grounded, grateful, and obedient. Silence in this season is not denial, it is discernment. It is the understanding that some chapters are closed for a reason. You do not need to reread them out loud. God has already written the next page. Protect your healing, honor your boundaries, and trust that heaven is guiding you step by step into a future that no longer requires you to explain where you came from, only to walk confidently in where you are going.